Hi, everyone. My name is Marcy Morrison, and I am the pre-grad pre-law advisor within the UC San Diego Career Center. And I want to thank you all for being here for the Graduate and Law School 101. We get so many questions about the application process, and I know that so many students really appreciate hearing from alumni that have already gone through this process. And I'm just really so grateful for the alumni that have showed up here today. And in a minute, I'm going to have them introduce themselves so you can learn a little bit more about them. And so the structure is that about for the first 30 minutes or so, I am going to be going through frequently asked questions that we get so you can hear from the alumni. And then after that, we're going to go in breakout rooms for about 20, 25 minutes, and then we'll close it out. So again, thanks so much for taking the time today to be here with all of us. And I would like Kendall Morris, who's behind the scenes. She actually works with us here in the Career Center, to introduce herself so you can learn a little bit more about her and let you know too that she is available for grad and law school advising as well. So Kendall, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Kendall Morris. I am a graduate peer educator or intern with the Career Center. So I help a bunch of undergrad and graduate students prepare for grad school, as well as looking over resume and CV and cover letter reviews, as well as helping them with internship and job search. I just finished my first year of my master's program, and I'm getting my master's in public policy. So if you are preparing to apply for grad school in the fall, you can always make an appointment with me and I can help you from there.
Great. Thank you so much, Kendall. And Kendall will be handling the chat. If you guys have any, like, need any support or have any questions, please put that in the chat. So, and also I am available also for pre-grad, pre-law advising as well. And I also want to, some exciting news is that this is the first year and since pre-COVID that we are actually going to be doing a independent grad and law school fair that's separate from the career fair and is going to be on Library Walk. And that was before my time, but alumni and graduate schools have told me that they absolutely love that. So I want to let you know to save the date for that. It's October 27th from 10 to 2. And then the 28th, we'll be having a virtual career fair as well. So now I'd love to turn it over to the alumni. I'll call you guys out just to introduce yourself. And I want to start with Alicia. And if you could add about your connection to the Career Center too, I'd love that.
Hi everyone. This is a real pleasure for me because, as Marcy mentioned, I worked with the Career Center in Kendall's role as a graduate peer mentor and helped lots of students apply to graduate school while I was doing my PhD in neuroscience at UCSD. I defended my PhD last November and am now working for Eli Lilly and Company in their business development team.
Thanks, Alicia. Sydney.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sidney Fitch. I graduated last year from Revelle in human bio, and now I'm doing a PhD at Michigan Medicine in physiology. And if you see a nose pop out, that is my puppy. We are still working on crate training, and my roommate is gone, so she will be in my lap this whole time. But
Thanks,
yeah,
Sydney.
happy to be here.
Thanks, Sydney. Puppies are welcome. Thank you. Adeline.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Adalyn. I graduated my undergrad in 2024 at UC San Diego with a major in cognitive science. And I just graduated again with my master's in computational social sciences in this past June. And right now I'm working as a business intelligence developer at Gilead Sciences. So,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you. Tommy.
Hey folks, my name's Tommy. I graduated in December of 2021 from UC San Diego undergrad, and I am currently a rising 3L at Berkeley Law. I'm actually also working over this summer at the San Francisco City Attorney's Office in the code enforcement team. So happy to talk about any of those experiences later in the breakout rooms.
Thanks, Tommy. Raina.
Hello, I'm Reina. I graduated from UCSD at 2023, and I also study cognitive science with a specialization in design interaction. I just finished my grad school this May, studying information experience design at Pratt. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, Raina. Zhishang.
Hello everyone. I also graduated in 2023 in data science major, and I continue to do PhD at UC San Diego. I'm studying AI and machine learning stuff. So as you know, UCSD it has a pretty high reputation for this. So if you guys have any question related to this, you can ask me.
Thank you so much. All right. So, and feel free to add to this question, but sometimes when students are in the beginning stage, like kind of really getting clarity of like what they want to study in grad school. And like Tommy, yours is a little different with law school. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about what gave you clarity about really wanting to go to law school and what you focused on here, and then also what you're focusing on now. So, let's do it the other direction now. So, Zhishang.
Yeah. So you're asking me what majors or what domain I'm studying right now? Is that the
Yeah, and
question?
like how you chose to get interested in that, and then why you chose how you got clarity that you wanted to do the PhD.
Yeah, I think this starting from during the pandemic, at that time I know many people are pretty concerning about the pandemic, and many people are pretty some people I know they're actually hopeless because at that time, actually at the beginning of pandemic, nobody know when will the vaccine coming out. Nobody know how many more people will be diagnosed with the pandemic. So at that time, I was studying economics at that time, and I gradually realized in current era we actually need some more so we need to use some more technology stuff to help us to know better about the world. At that time, when I read there's a Princeton, they have a report. At that time, pretty early time, they have a prediction of how many people will be diagnosed. And I feel like that is very good because that give you information that actually assure you it give you some guidance of what's going on the world. So I decided to switch to data science, and I continue to do things related to data science till now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Reina.
For me, I know that I always wanted to study UI UX product design. So that's why I studied cognitive science with a design specialization back in UCSD. And then when I was applying for grad school, I know that for UCSD, the classes I took the program itself was a lot more theoretical. There was a lot more research rather than more practical courses. So when I was applying for grad school, I looked into schools that have more practical courses. They have professors that worked full-time as a designer. So yeah, that's how I kind of gained clarity on making it more specific related to more practical side of the product design for grad school application. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this during my introduction, but when I was at UC San Diego, I studied political science with the emphasis on data analytics, and I also had a minor in business. Prior to that, I was actually considering pursuing playwriting before the majority of the pandemic that happened. I say all this information to say I feel like for me, the journey to applying to law school itself is something that took multiple years and a lot of consideration. And as somebody who is about to graduate from law school next year and has been in the law school space for the last 2 years, I can tell you that there's not really I don't think that there's a time that's too late to go to law school. Plenty of my peers are in their 30s or they have 5 to 7 years of experience. I have peers that have been teachers. I've been peers that have been park rangers. I currently am working with somebody who is in the same internship with me, who's worked 10 years in the housing space for HCD and for HUD as well. And all this to say, I think law school is a pretty big decision. And what honestly gave me the clarity to pursue it was giving myself enough time to decide whether this was going to be the right decision for me. And I think what really benefited me with that time is I felt like I wasn't being rushed to submit my application materials the year that I was immediately after I was going to graduate. And I also feel like I had a lot more leverage when it came to being a competitive applicant, but also with negotiating scholarships as well. And I think that obviously, I I think everyone here who wants to go to law school will have fantastic careers. I still think that the process of graduating with a JD can be a lot less onerous if you have less financial burden and also you have a little bit more conviction that law school is the right path to go forward. So I can't recommend folks enough that if you do have the ability to do so, take some time off and also to talk to people like me and some other folks that are lined up for career services center events this year. So I think the best idea of whether you're going to enjoy law school or not is just talking to students.
Thanks, Tommy. Adeline, I'm sorry I said your name wrong. Can you help me again?
No worries. Adolin is the
Adeline. Okay, got it. I'll do a better next job.
No, you're all good. Yeah, but for me, I always knew that I wanted to pursue a field kind of like at the intersection of social sciences and computing. I did the same major as Raina, so that kind of set me up for a career in UX design. But to be completely transparent, like I wasn't really having any luck in finding a job straight after undergrad in UX design. It's like a very competitive field, and yeah, I was facing a lot of like imposter syndrome. But I did do a minor in computational social sciences, and I really liked how it took like a sort of data analysis approach to address social science questions. And I wanted to keep pursuing that and see if like it would be able to broaden sort of like my more technical skill set in like programming and data engineering, data analysis. So so yeah, UCSD has like this like unique program, and I honestly did not know that I wanted to go to grad school for sure, but it was just the program itself that I really was interested in. And yeah, after talking to like alumni and then also professors that I had interacted with about the program, it helped me realize that it might be a good fit for me to kind of broaden my options in terms of job search.
Thank you so much. Sydney.
Yeah, so I did my undergrad in human biology, but my last 2 years were spent in a lab that was bioengineering. So I knew I didn't want to do bioengineering, so it was a little bit different for me when it came to applying. I reached out to a bunch of professors in molecular biology because I knew that's what I wanted to study at all of my interested schools. And then I just met up with them on Zoom and I learned more about the program and what their lab did. And for those in research, it is very PI dependent. So, like, obviously, each program is different when it comes to direct admit or rotations. But for me, I had to email a lot of professors, and I was a rotation. So I could test out at different labs, but each lab is very different in their environment and what they study. So, something to keep in mind for those who want to do research.
Alicia.
Um, so my path up to my PhD, I studied neuro through and through as an undergraduate. I stayed a few years in the lab that I had joined as an undergraduate as a research technician and then applied to graduate school. I think that the decision to pursue a PhD, looking back, is probably most effectively made by working backwards of the career that you want to have. And I know that that's a really, really difficult question when you're so early on. But I think that what's tough, especially in the biological sciences, is if you're studying biology, molecular biology, neuroscience, there's kind of two paths that everyone knows about, right? It's you're going to go to med school or you're going to go to grad school if you want further education. And that is one way to decide by exclusion. But ultimately, there are actually tons of career paths that are available to folks without graduate degrees and without a PhD. And so the decision to get one really needs to be driven by the fact that you want one of these career paths that are not going to be available to you without having that degree. And so I think that as much as it's possible to informational interview folks that are within potential fields that you're interested, whether it be pharma, venture capital, whatever it is, and work backwards and seeing, okay, do these folks have degrees and do they feel like their degree was necessary to get to where they are is probably, it's how I went about choosing to pursue a PhD and how I would recommend doing.
That's so helpful. Thanks, Alicia. I know we got that question a lot. Should I or should I not? Right? So it's like, thanks for answering that question. In the interest in time, I'm going to kind of condense some of the questions that I thought about. And I would love for you guys to think about, we get so many questions around how do you gain experience? How do you build relationships with professors? How do you decide what you want to write about in your application materials? And I know all of you can't cover each one of those, but I was thinking like if there's one nugget you want to leave regarding the application process, in those kind of in the realm of those pieces, that would be really helpful because I think again, it's one thing to hear about it theoretically, and then it's another to hear about people that have lived through this experience. So Alicia, what do you think is like your number one tip that you experienced with applying to PhD?
Yeah, I think I would choose to speak on the letters of recommendation piece. I had the chance to be on the admissions committee for the neuroscience PhD program at UCSD for a few years. And although all PhD programs and even within an admissions committee, people will have different priorities, I can speak from my experience on the committee that I was on is that letters of recommendation were extremely highly valued and regarded, which is tricky because it's actually the one aspect of your application that you have the least control over. Not to say that you have no control at all, but it's the one thing that you don't, for the most part, write yourself. And so I think going up to the application, starting to think really early about who could be potential letter writers and not stopping at just three, right? Like you can start many years before and priming, whether it's a professor that you connected with in a course. And at the end, if you end up with way more than three that can write, then great, you can pick the top three. But starting those relationships really early by connecting with professors early on with folks that you are working with in your research on any independent projects that you end up doing and then following up with those people. It doesn't matter that you're going to apply to grad school in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. A simple email 3, 4 times a year saying, would love to catch up with you. Here's what I've been up to in the last 4 or 5 months. Hope everything's going well with X is really all you need to keep that connection going. And that's going to help with that letter down the road. So I think the one thing that I'd probably focus on is those letters of recommendation and nurturing those relationships and those potential letter writers for in the long run.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Super helpful. Sidney, is there anything you really want to highlight from your process?
Yeah, I think maybe just briefly the relationships on the other side of the application. So I think it's really important to reach out to programs, faculty in specific that you are really interested in, and just ask to do a quick Zoom meeting, keep it very brief. I did this in November of my application cycle, and I found it was really helpful because they would be like, well, I'll keep an eye on your application when it comes through. So I think it's really important that you start nurturing those relationships from the other point of view as well, so that you have someone kind of vouching for you as a person and not just on paper when it comes to these committees.
It's really important too. Thank you, Sidney. Adolin, did I say it right that time?
You did. Thank
Good,
you.
thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, I can speak a little bit on the essay writing part. My program that I was applying to was very interdisciplinary, and so they really valued kind of like being able to bridge a connection between a bunch of different experiences, and then valuing like a lot of diverse backgrounds. So for me, I think what people who read my essays told me what was strong about it is like the storytelling aspect is can like make for a really strong essay in terms of how do you kind of take all of these different experiences that you have and how do they each contribute to like your journey that brings you to like at this point in time where you are applying to grad school. And I think it really helps the reader set up the reader to kind of understand like why like grad school is like the most beneficial like next step for you, and why like you're also like well suited for the program itself. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Great, excellent. Thank you. Tommy, where do you begin, right, Tommy? You got lots of tips.
Yeah, I think if I had to choose one that I feel like is pretty universal throughout the law school admissions process, I believe this is a myth that existed before I applied, when I applied, and currently exists now, that there's a certain path that you need to take to get to law school. You know, a lot of people who want to go to law school will study political science, they'll do mock trial, they'll, join a legal journal that's at an undergraduate level and take law classes. And I meet with a lot of prospective applicants who feel like because they don't have these experiences, that they might not be a strong applicant. And I think I just want to dispel that myth right now. I think what we begin to see, and this is something, it's true when I applied, it's true currently as is I think law school really can be for anyone, regardless of what background that you're from. And I think if people are trying to game and figure out whether what something would look better on a law school application versus something that they're truly passionate about, I would highly recommend the latter 100% of the time. And I think kind of moving on to more practical advice stemming from that, I think a lot of people might feel insecure that their experiences themselves might not speak well about why they want to pursue a legal education. But I also just want to point out that there's a reason why your personal statement is going to be sent along with your resume and your transcript as well. Your resume is just one part of the application. And obviously, there are some folks who probably have experiences that by itself speaks to why somebody wants to go to law school. But since you have a more narrative portion where you can tie in your background, if you study bioengineering and you personally find that patent law is something that's really interesting to you, you're always going to have the ability to write that in a supplemental essay, in your personal statement, or also when you're interviewing with an admissions officer or alumni. So I just really want to encourage folks that when you are applying to law school, and if you are considering about applying to law school, but you're afraid that you don't have the right experiences, quote unquote, to be a competitive applicant, I think really what it's going to come down to is, do you have a strong reason to go to law school? And I think if you do, it's going to shine through in your personal statement. And I think as long as you're able to tie it together, your resume into your personal statement about this is the experiences I've had and this is why I want to go to law school, I think anyone can be a competitive applicant for pursuing a JD education.
Very true, Tommy. Thank you so much for sharing a really important point, especially with law school. Raina.
For me, when it comes to applying for design-related programs, like portfolio is very important, and portfolio is basically a way to showcase like all the works you've done, whether it being like internships or class projects or passion projects. So I think for me, when it comes to like strengthening, like how do I find these projects to work on, I think classes really help. Definitely pick classes that are that has like projects that you can work on. And then there are also club activities that I did a lot. There is quite a few design clubs that allows you to like work on like an actual project from 0 to 1 with other students. So I think for me, really just like going to these clubs, going to these classes specifically really help me strengthen my application.
Thanks, Raina. Zhishang, you're last but not least.
Okay, so for anyone who want to study like computer science, machine learning, AI, or like in a PhD, I think the most important thing is to start early, because you do need some research experience before you enter the PhD. And most of the professors actually expect you to already have some publications before you enter PhD. So that's pretty tough. And it's also very, very competitive because you're basically competing with people applying from all around the world, basically, to this kind of program. So you do need to prepare as early as possible. I do have some good like advice, more detailed advice on how you should get your first lab job, because that is usually how you start your research. I think the most important thing is you do need to ask like the professors several times if he or she didn't respond to you at the first time, because I know some professors like this, so they usually don't. So first of all, your ability, that's pretty important. But if you're young, like if you're in your first year, in your second year, you haven't have any research before, they're pretty happy to get you into their lab if they still have some positions. But they do want to see like you want to do this. You are very motivated to do this. So what's the best way to test you is like you want to reach out to him or her like many, many times, and you really express your passion about, I want to do this, but not just like contact once and then just stop contacting, and he or she usually will think you like maybe this student like is not that passionate about a research. They Yeah, so I know that like AI machine learning stuff right now, especially in UCSD, they has more jobs like up positions open than you think about. They always lack enough like talented students to do all the kinds of different research. But you do need to express like you want to do this. Yeah. So I think yeah, I do have some more tips, but we can talk about that like later in the breakout room. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate that you brought that up about the research, Shishang. And I really do want to point out the Career Center YouTube site. They're one of our previous other graduate peer educators, Luis, she made a video on how to land research opportunities. So I really recommend if you're in that field. I also have done a couple of videos with Tommy about dispelling the myths of applying to law school and just in the law school application in general. But we have a lot. And Alicia, you're on there too. Like you've done several presentations, including one about psychology programs, which was, like your passion project, right? Because you're like, we really need to help the psychology students. So there's a lot of great resources on there. And like we mentioned before, I know some of you came in a little bit later that, Kendall and I are both available for grad and law school advising appointments that are available in Handshake. So definitely take advantage of that. Definitely come to the graduate and law school fair October 27th on Library Walk. And I'm going to have Kendall go ahead and open up the breakout rooms, and I will stop recording. And thank you again so much to all of the alumni here for sharing your wisdom and for talking with students, because I know answering those specific questions they have is really appreciated. So we're going to close this out at like 5 until 12:55. So we'll come back in and then we'll close it out. But Kendall, are we ready for the breakout rooms?
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay.